Hey guys, this is Brad and Mike from Dallas Geek, and today we're going to be starting our next mini-series, I guess, temporary, long-term, what do we want to call this? Just next series?
Series, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's a series. Yeah.
Next series for Know Your Directors. So we talk a lot in our reviews and our other commentary on movies about different directors, and we figured it's probably about time that we explain why we talk about these directors so much and why we can say that if a certain director is attached to a movie, that we can make assumptions about how good or bad that movie is going to be.
Right.
So in the videos to come, we're going to go into great detail about each individual director that we think of as one of the defining directors of the movies that we talk about, and explain everything you need to know as an audience member about how to identify their movies, how to understand their style, and generally just what else you need to know to better appreciate them. And to start that, we should probably go ahead and give a quick explanation about what the difference between the director, the cinematographer, also known as the director of photography, and the producer is, and why we're putting so much emphasis on the director and only peripherally talking about the other two.
Well, to start, The Producer is a fantastic Mel Brooks movie that they then turned into a musical starring Zero Mostel and... Oh, different.
Little bit.
I'm just going to go back over here.
But to start off with, what is the difference between the director and the cinematographer, also known as the director of photography?
You asking me, or
do you know? So the director is the person responsible for the creative direction of the story.
Right.
They come up with the vision of how they want the visuals to look. They give direction to the writers about what modifications to the script needs to be made in order to fit the vision that they have for the final version of the movie. And they are the ones that work directly with the actors to be able to help them understand how to express what they need to express for a scene, and more importantly, what they should be expressing for that scene that's not necessarily part of the script.
Right.
Whereas the cinematographer or director of photography, their job is the technical side. They work with the cameras, the lights, the audio, and they make sure that the technology is able to create the vision that the director has. And
so basically set up lighting.
Yeah.
Set up camera angles. Make sure that your mics are properly in place.
They're the ones that understands best how the cameras function, so as to understand when the director says, I want this type of shot, they know how to adjust the lens, how to adjust the camera to be able to get exactly that. Even if the director knows, the director has to delegate these responsibilities, and that's where the cinematographer comes in.
So unprofessional.
Really?
My shit's on silent.
And he has vibrating every 5 seconds for ESPN.
Hey, basketball is life.
Dude.
Yeah.
We're on a nerdy podcast and you're pushing sports? Really?
Yeah.
For shame.
I'm sorry that I'm athletic unlike you, and that I played real sports in high school unlike you.
Wow.
Hey guys.
Swimming's a sport.
Swimming's an activity that you do to stay alive.
Tell that to Michael Phelps.
I will. On dry land, where I'm better than him.
Dude, I don't think either of us are better than Michael Phelps in anywhere.
Yeah, probably not.
And so then
You have
the
producer or executive producers.
Well, there is a slight difference between
yeah.
the two. The executive producer is responsible for the funding.
Right.
But the producer, what are they responsible for?
A lot of the same stuff. Funding. Now, because producers and executive producers do put up part of the funding for a movie, a lot of them do get say on like certain cuts of films, certain shots that are used. That's why you'll see a lot of directors have executive producing credits in their movies.
Yep.
Especially since a lot of them nowadays have their own production companies.
Mm-hmm.
Like JJ has Bad Robot.
Yep.
Brian Singer has Bad Hat Harry.
Spielberg had been involved with Miramax,
right?
But that was a thing.
Yeah. By the way, I think I have an idea for my Halloween costume.
So,
but in all seriousness, so they put up direct funding for the film. Yeah. They get a say on what cut is used, what scenes are cut in, what scenes are cut out. Which is why, like I said, you'll see a lot of directors that have executive producing credits because directors want total control over their films anyway. Yep. The best way to do that is to get an executive producing credit. Yep. So that way they get more say in what the final product looks like.
Yeah. Whereas you will have a limited number of producers attached to a movie, the executive producers will be usually a much longer list because the majority of them are just there for the funding.
Right.
The producer...
now, there are such things as like producers in name only.
Yes.
Where it's literally just like, hey, I'm going to cut you a check. I just want to make sure that I get a producing credit.
Yeah.
Then you have guys like Spielberg, like Bryan Singer, like J.J. Abrams, who are like, no. Like, I am the creative voice of this film, therefore I get the highest executive producing credit because this is my film.
Well, the other thing that the producer does, the producers are the studio execs that you always hear referred to when it comes to marketing decisions, when it comes to how a film is treated for just generally in the press, for trailers, for whatever. So any time that a direct, like for example, right now with The Last Jedi, the director, Rian Johnson, is making certain decisions about referring to fans saying, don't pay attention to the trailers, that I didn't really have control over how much was in the trailers, how many trailers went out. That was the studio. If you really don't want to be have anything spoiled for you, ignore the trailers. But the studio, the producers, are the ones that are going to continue to push more trailers because that's more marketing that will get hype up.
Which I find funny because there's only been 2 trailers for it.
Well, 2 full trailers, but then you've had partials, you've had TV spots.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you always have TV spots. You always have
like in terms of TV spots tend to have slightly different content than the main trailers,
right?
Too.
But like, I just find that funny because this movie's actually had fewer trailers than
The Force Awakens did. Which
and JJ is notorious for not putting trailers out, and not putting anything in his trailers.
Yeah, which hopefully is Disney's way of acknowledging how much they put out there for Force Awakens and are trying to course correct now. Right. But yeah, so that's really the main difference between those 3 positions and why we put so much emphasis on who the director is rather than who the cinematographer is or who the producer is, because the director has so much more control over the movie and how it's going to do. And while some producers will try to override the director in the cutting, in the editing process, will try to override during marketing, it still comes down to the director being the make or break factor for most movies.
Absolutely.
So that's why we put so much emphasis on them and their role in the process.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
With that, if you have a director that you want us to talk about, please leave their name in the comments below.
Only good directors, though.
Any director that you like or any director that you just want to learn more about, please let us know, and we will try to get around to all the big ones and everybody that you want us to talk about eventually.
And spoiler alert, we will do a video on Kevin Smith. Deal with it.
Well, we're also going to be doing one on Michael Bay and Zack Snyder, too.
I'm going to be sick that day.
We'll be drinking for those.
I will be here for that day.
So, with that, this is Brad and Mike from Dallas Geek saying, see ya.